I lost
Hey,
count.
Jason, how things
Hey,
going?
oh, pretty good, Carl. How you been?
Good, good. I guess it's this time of the year when we start to think about the year ahead, right?
Oh man, end of year, all this year end stuff, and the best of lists that are coming out, and all these predictions that are coming out about next year. Oh my goodness. Yep,
Yeah,
we're in that time.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, if we could be a crystal ball, I think we would. We would try that for sure, right?
Oh man, I don't know. With everything that's happening, I think with what's been happening, it feels like we're living in the crystal ball. There's certain times I feel like we're living in the future now. There's so much cool stuff happening.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a bit, right? I mean, with all those things that have been happening in 2024, you see data growth, right? What's your thought on data volume and those challenges moving into 2025?
Just the sheer volume of data is absolutely amazing. Do you remember the time when Bill Gates said nobody's ever going to need a hard drive over 250 megabytes? I,
That's funny,
I,
yeah.
right, 250 megabytes in a hard drive. I haven't seen a file that small that was of any import for a long time. Like I don't have any Revit models that are 250 megabytes. Everything is just so huge. So, you know, I think probably Moore's law has come into play as well. Everything is just keeps getting faster and bigger just the longer that we go. So yeah, just the sheer amount of data, it causes us to have to keep up with it. Like we cannot get behind. Once you're
Yeah.
behind, you're behind.
So I'm trying to think backward, right? You're back to the USB stick, right? And I guess like 20 years in the making, right? We went from FTP sites, the various things like used for transferring files between internal and external organizations, right? And then all the way to the apparition, like the when CAD came up, right? And then we moved away from blueprints and all of that, um, and then now BIM, right? BIM has grown significantly over the last decade, and then it continues to grow. And then now we've got drones, and then we've got point clouds we have to manage. So those files are huge, right? I mean, you look backward, people used to use platforms for file transfer, like WeTransfer and things like that, right? But it's now, I think it's challenged. Even those platforms are challenged with the size of and the volume of information that has to be shared on projects.
Oh my goodness. So when I first started in industry, speaking of when we started with CAD, so when I first started, my first job that I applied for was for somebody using AutoCAD. I had a template file that I brought with me, and I don't know if you remember these, but there were these little square things that you could put into a computer that had 1.44 megabytes on it. I had my template file in my shirt pocket, and I was able to go to a job interview with that small amount of data and then successfully get the job. Then after that, everything seems to also be, we need to connect it. So the farther that we get, the larger that our files get. To me, it's important not only to have all this data and have access to it in wherever we're at, and the immediacy I think is important as well, but connecting it to me, I've been thinking a lot about that. The connection that we have, starting with something like AutoCAD and then moving to something like BIM, and I mean Revit, it's a giant relational database, right? It's related. The model, everything in the model is related to everything. I can't have a window without a wall. Those two things are related. I can't have that. And I think that the more that we're getting into more data, bigger data, we have to keep in mind that we have to keep it connected, because that big giant pile of data can be just that. Just a giant pile, or it can be a worthwhile database that we're curating, we're managing, and all of those relationships that we can create. It's going to be even more important moving forward. We
Yeah.
really need to manage the relationships between our different disparate data. We really need to.
So do you feel like BIM is one of the driver of data growth in the industry because it has made drawing creation so easy that now you've got sheet sets that are even bigger than before.
Well, I still think BIM is still a concept. BIM is not a product. BIM isn't Revit. Revit is a tool that we can use in the process of BIM. I've always thought, so it's building information modeling. The I has always been the most important part to me. I think they should have made the acronym little b, big I, little m. That I part right in the middle. That's been staring at us right in the face for how long? For however long that the word BIM is. That information piece. That's the piece right now that we're able to take advantage of. The information. If we were to call that data, that's what we're talking about right now. So yeah, everything is getting bigger, and I mean, yeah, BIM is still a concept, and that we really need to harness. But I think we need to focus. We need to focus on the information part. The building part, yeah, that's what we do. The model part, that's what we're creating in the process of creating that building. The information part, that's the part that's going to put us in a very important position as somebody. So I work for an architecture company. We're going to be providing models. We're going to be providing CDs to not only to the contractors, but now we're providing them to the O in AECO, the people that are going to be operating these buildings. And so we need to have, there's more talk about digital twins and the next step of what BIM is going to be. We deal a lot with the Los Angeles Unified School District and the Kobe scheme, where everything in our model has a purpose, it has a name, it has data associated with it. No longer is it just this dumb door that we put in. It's not dumb anymore because it has data. That facilities person is going to be able to grab the right lock set from the storage room before they head out across campus. I mean, we can talk about how this big data is going to help with efficiency, all the way down to the people that are actually turning wrenches on the buildings that we turn over to people.
Yeah. So it's interesting because that information, discussion, right? Trying to free information from BIM, or maybe consume it or mine it somehow, right?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a growing trend in 2025. People will try to move away from file-based workflow into information-based kind of workflow, and trying to free that information from those data-rich 3D models, right? So I guess, like, as we start to digitalize more and more of our processes, right? I mean, it started, probably 2 decades ago with moving away from blueprint, right? But there's still a lot of paper-based and phone conversations and decisions made on the go, right? Kind of thing. So the more we digitalize some of that, the more the data volume, right? But the more exposure to data security issues also that comes with it, right? Because we've got more information that can be, trapped into a ransomware attack or some things like that.
Absolutely.
What do you think about that? Like, as we move in 2025?
I'm super curious about the concept of no files. We're dealing with information. I still don't have my head wrapped around it yet, but I hear those around us talking about, I'm sick of files. I don't want to be bound by these file things, and I don't know what exactly comes next, but exactly, it's not just that we have all of this information. Like I mentioned before, it's that the relationships that we're creating with that. We can have all this data. If we can't do anything with it, like you said, it's going to be, we're going to be mining this. We're going to be taking disparate pieces of information and using a technology to put them together for us in ways that we have not even thought of. That's the brilliant part to me, is that we're going to have to trust some sort of machine learning to point out things that we cannot see because we have so much data. It's physically impossible for us as humans to consume all of this data. Imagine having this assistant that's sitting on the side making suggestions, giving us suggestions. That's the part I'm really looking forward to, is being able to have this tool, whatever this tool is going to look like, sitting on the on the sideline all the time, watching all of our data, consuming it for us, and helping us understand it, and helping us understand where the relationships are in between the different datas.
So that's interesting, right? Because I guess as we as we start to free that data, right, and then I guess as we start to identify where the data is, because there's this concept of data sprawl, right, information spread in multiple systems, right. People are starting to look at database technology and tools like Snowflake, things like that, to store that information, right? And it seems like it's the foundation for being able to build your own AI and truly unlock the power of that data, right?
Yeah, I'm I'm on the user end of AI, and that's I think where you and I don't want to say we differ, but I think we complement each other. I love being able to talk to somebody such as yourself that's got your hooks into the technical parts of AI, and whereas as myself, I want to know that you've created that AI bot, that AI agent to help me do these tasks, and so and being involved at this point, at just the beginning, we're at the tip of the iceberg when it comes to AI. We don't know what we don't know yet. And to me, that's both terrifying and exciting at the same time. I love that feeling. It's not knowing where we're going to go, but knowing that we're going in a positive, in a really neat direction. So I don't know if that answered the question you threw out there, but I really feel strongly that there are going to be tools that we're going to have that freeing the data. I love that. I love that phrase. We're going to
Yeah.
be freeing the data up, and it's not only we're not only freeing it up so that these other tools can use it and help us be more efficient with it, but we're also freeing it up so that people can access this content from wherever. Is it because you're out in the field and on job site and you've got your mobile phone with you, or maybe you've got a tablet, or maybe you've got your laptop? Doesn't matter. What we're coming to is a point in time where we're going to have access. It was so cool to think of when mobile phones became a thing. I'm old enough to remember not having one, and then to go, oh my God, I've got the world's information in my pocket. I've got it right here. I can access anything. Now imagine that in the AECO field, where I can go out onto a job site with my phone, with a tablet or a laptop, have access to everything, and then to understand that there's an AI tool that's helping me to understand the relationships between all this stuff, to surface what's important when it's important to surface it. That's I'm looking forward to that part. I really am.
So that part is exciting to me, right? Because when I think about technology, I think about moving forward, not backward, right? But there are some cases where I think the technology might actually go backward because of the advancement we're making. So take the example with the phone, right? So my first phone was a flip phone, right? And we had to push every single button because there was like no touchscreen back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved to the smartphones, and then now the newest smartphones are actually flip phones again, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting because there is a parallel, I think, with the AEC industry, right? So when I finished architecture school, the first year was all hand drafting, right? We were, drafting everything by hand. That's kind of the old school, but it's how you learn and appreciate all the effort, of creating a good design. So you kind of feel it, right? So that's interesting because now with AI, there is a possibility that we may actually go backward because AI could create construction documents for us from hand drafting in sketches, right? So
Absolutely.
is there going to be a movement down the road where you're actually going back to hand drafting and you just do the kind of rough kind of draft and then you send it to AI and AI create the construction documents from your draft, right? So I think that part is exciting because we might go back to the basics at some point because of that.
I think so. I think so as well. It's funny that you mentioned, starting out doing everything by hand. That's where I started out as well. I remember in school, I'm probably going to trigger some folks here, doing letter plates or lettering plates. And I have a numb spot. I'm left-handed. I have a numb spot on one of my fingers from holding the lead pointer so tough, so tight to get the good line quality. I do. I could still feel that. So absolutely. I was just looking at some software recently about it's software that'll take your Revit model and it will create CDs for you. that's amazing to me. So
Yeah.
are we going, but is that really going backwards? I mean, we still need CDs, or do we? Are we going to at some point just be handing over a digital twin to somebody and say, here, build this however you want? That's exciting to me too. But yeah, there are software packages available currently that will create a set of CDs for you based off of, like you said, a sketch, or the one that I was looking at recently. It's from a Revit model. But we still need the human part.
So talking about AI, right? Where do you foresee AI in 2025, right? Like there has been lots of advancement in generative design. There's been advancement in field monitoring for progress. You think about technologies like open space, and Procore has been making acquisition in this space too for finding potential issues on the job site by looking at pictures. And there's been advancements in robotics, which leverage AI. But what's your take on the AI, the next AI big thing for
Oh my
AECO?
gosh. I think the better question to start off with is where is AI not going to be in 2025? I saw I saw recently an ad for a mouse, a computer mouse that had an AI button on it. I don't, I
Interesting.
don't I don't need an AI button on my mouse. I don't think. Maybe I do. I don't know. So where AI is going, it's going everywhere. I think that's my prediction. It's going to be involved in everything. Um, but understanding that AI has already been a part of our culture and our industries for a long time. I mean, the topic of AI started in 1965, and it's just been slowly progressing. It's just been the last year and a half that have just really, I mean, maybe 2 years now, that have really just taken off. So from where we were a year and a half ago, thinking about that, and then thinking about the capabilities that have come about in a year and a half, 2 years, where we're going to be in 25 is, I'm excited about it. So at NAC Architecture, we're using AI in a lot of different ways right now. One of the ways that we're doing it is we're using Midjourney to create some inspiration type images for us. It's not something that we're going to ever, Midjourney is going to create this awesome looking building, and we're not going to go build it. That's not something that we're after. But what we want to do is we want to use it to help us think about things in different ways, or think about things that we might not have thought about before. And for that reason, I love the AI piece. Even for myself, if I have a writing block, if I have a creative block, I can turn to an AI. I'm able to communicate with an AI in such a manner that it can help me past a writing block, or a creative block that I might be having. So as a company, what we're doing is we're going to be using it for image generation. We're also rolling out some test groups for Microsoft's Copilot. We wanted to take that kind of step by step. After we got our AI policy in place as a company, everybody understood it, how we're going to be using AI, where the guardrails exist, and they exist for not for limiting us, but for making sure that what we turn out is a good product, is feels good to us as well. So we do need some guardrails, but I really think that AI is going to be everywhere. It's going to be, I think that as a company, we're going to be creating proposals using AI before the end of 2025. There are already companies out there right now that are using AI to create proposals. Just the simple fact that I can have Copilot have a look at an email before I send it, that's huge. It's absolutely, it's phenomenal, the resources that we have. It wasn't, it was a year ago that you could buy a software package that sat on top of Word or Outlook that checked your grammar, and it was an added cost that you had to go and get this Grammarly or whatever thing that you were going to use. Now it's doing it as I type, and it's not an extra paid service. So I think that AI, the term, we're probably going to be sick of hearing AI by, I mean, some people probably already are, but what it what it represents to us is just unbounded opportunity and access. It's the democratization of learning. If I need to help somebody learn something, and I can point them to an AI and I can train them how to ask questions of that AI so that they can take control of their own learning, that to me is huge. Another big part of what I do is I do all of the technical onboard training for every employee that walks in the door, to be able to tell them that they have resources. We've turned on what's called a community AI on our intranet. That starts very soon. I'm going to have my people be able to ask a natural language question and have a result shown to them. Well, here's the video that statement resides in, and here's a link exactly to that spot in that video. I'm able to do that because we have said, okay, we want AI to consume all of our data so that we can then converse with an AI about our data. Tell me where those relationships are, community AI. I need to know what's related to what. Oh, I didn't know that this person had a presentation on this topic. Being that I'm involved with every new hire, they don't have the history of a company that started in 1962. I'm now able to have this AI consume our entire intranet, and then they can find out history of our company, uh, our new BIM standards that we've put in, built into our new Revit template. Our employee guidebooks, our insurance information, all of that stuff is now going to be, there's a search bar at the top of our intranet, ask it a question and you should be able to find it. So where is AI going in 2025? In one word, everywhere.
That's interesting. So let's try something here, right? So we said we're sick about talking about AI, right? So let's talk about use cases instead, right? So I'm gonna start with just one thing I've heard and seen quite often, which is labor shortage and knowledge management, right? So it feels like the whole industry right now is facing that challenge. You've got experienced veterans that are about to retire, and then you've got the new folks coming in, right? So they learn by, I guess, getting exposed to those folks who have all the experience, but also by doing search, right? They search through a lot of things, right? How do you think the data sprawl is gonna evolve moving in 2025, and what do you think like the potential solutions would be to help combat the challenge of that data sprawl?
Like you mentioned, we're in a culturally, we're in a pretty unique situation. This is the first time in a long time, maybe even ever, that we've had 4 generations of people in the workplace right now. We have people that started their jobs before computers were a thing in an office. We have people that are starting a job that don't know what it's like to not interact with a device with a screen ever in their whole life. These are the same people that have never purchased a compact disc to listen to music on, right? So you mentioned potentially going backwards. The people that we have that are leaving our company possess so much knowledge right now. That critical knowledge transfer that we need to do before they leave is tough. It's super tough. Mentorship, I think, really plays a heavy role in being able to take this knowledge and this information and get it out of their heads and into the heads, or into a format that can be consumed maybe by, I don't know, we weren't talking about AI, but it just came right back to AI. The Buckminster Fuller, when he was leaving, I'm blanking on the university he was teaching at, he had a series of lectures, and I believe they were called Everything I Know. And I want to say it's about 40 hours, maybe more, of lectures. You can go to YouTube and find it. Bucky Fuller, Buckminster Fuller, Everything I Know. That's what I would love to be able to do with every principal that is retiring right now. I know that I can't, but that's an inspiration that I have. So to be able to get that information out of people's heads, I do think that we might need to go a little bit backwards. That because the data sprawl didn't happen until we were trying to document everything and get it committed to a file or get it committed to a database. So the folks that we need to get out of that, the information out of their heads, I think we might consider that moving backward, but not in a bad way. I think
So
mentorship is really going to be to play a key role in handling how people understand all the data that we have, if that's even possible.
yeah, so the challenge for you is to figure out how to create corporate memory that can last across the generations, right? And then I guess there's going to be technology opportunities for technology to be able to provide like search capabilities around that, right? And maybe that's what's going to be fueling the next generation of skilled workers, right, down the road.
You know, and mentorship is an interesting topic because it can go both ways when you have a good mentor-mentee relationship. We've just hired a couple of gentlemen recently whose strengths lie in the fact that they are constructability experts, not that they are masters of Revit. We have young architects working with these architects that have been possibly in their career as long as these people have been alive. The ability for this person to convey that to a new person, and then to have this new person, one of those people that have grown up not knowing what it's like to be without a computer, it can go both ways. So I know that we have some of these principals that are leaving or they're retiring, but as far as I've been teaching people boring software for the last 25 years. The best way that you can learn, as far as I'm concerned, is teaching somebody else. And so when I have this young person that is teaching somebody something that's new, a new piece of technology, and that person, you know, they came to work that day not knowing that they were going to use AI that day. And then they go home and they say, honey, I just used AI for the first time today. That's happened in our office recently. And I love that, you know? So I don't know if that answered your question or not, but how it, I don't know if we can combat sprawl with mentorship, but honestly, if we can help people understand the data, if we can give them a good why do we do this? I think that can help. That can help a lot.
So so what's your take then on, you said yeah, we can help people understand data, right? So it seems like it's not like architects kind of first I would say area of interest, diving in data, right? They're more interested about delivering a good project, right? So how do you see like the skills of the future workforce kind of evolving around that? I mean, the newest people are obviously more tech savvy, than we used to be, right, as an industry. But do you see like any specific roles being created in organizations to that would be focused on mining data and potentially leveraging that to be more efficient? Like, do you see like more technology research groups? And
I think that that IT is going to be playing a bigger part in the whole world of architecture. It's not like it hasn't throughout the last couple of decades. Like you mentioned, in the last couple of decades is when we went from the drafting board to the computer. In that process, the IT folks have had to decide, we've had to figure out, what is our role? What do we, in order to support you, I'm not just installing AutoCAD anymore. I need to be able to connect. And this is going back to all those connections again. So the skills that people are going to need moving forward to be able to understand data is they're going to have to understand how the different data are connected to each other. And I think that is going to be, and I don't have an exact how. I don't have a book that they can read. I don't have, there's no one thing that I can think of other than spending time in practice, spending time with all of the different parts of a project as it moves through, and understanding that I can associate, I can relate different data sources together to provide a good project. We have folks that are, just by virtue of the generation that they're in, their idea of a good project is that big old roll of prints that comes out at the end and the building goes up with no issues. We came in under budget, on time, right? Now though, Now that we're going to be giving digital twins to people that are going to operate the buildings, we are going to need to educate people how to use this data. That that being so involved in training that I've been over the last couple of decades, it's so important. That why are we doing this, and then understanding the relationships between everything. That I can't emphasize that enough. And so I really I don't have a good how people are going to be doing this. I just know that they're going to have to do this. So these skills, I'm not even sure if we have them defined yet.
Yeah.
Being, in the well really, because the topic of AI can be nebulous, because if we look at the last year and a half to 2 years, if we go back 3 years, we we're living in the future. As far as, if we were to go back 3 years and say, well, where will AI be? I don't think anybody could have predicted. This is some
Fair.
sci-fi
Yep.
stuff, right? Like, and
Yeah.
so well, it feels like that to me. And I remember buying my first flip phone and my first smartphone, and I remember way back before that there were phones. I don't know if you remember this. There were phones that were attached to walls in a home. you know so I've seen this, and look at what my parents have seen, look what my grandparents have seen, that progression of technology. So I don't know that we even know, did the job prompt engineer exist 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago? I don't know. So what's going to be the next job title that we don't know is going to exist? you know so what skills do they need? Yes, that's my answer. They need skills to move forward, but I don't know what they're going to be. And to me, I think that's so exciting. That's that terrifying and exciting piece is,
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
So talking about terrifying, right? Your role as an information manager is probably to make better workflows to collect data and ensure that project records are complete in your organization, right?
Hmm.
So how do you see, like, moving in 2025, right? How do you see your job evolving with this incredible amount of like new technologies and growth in data, right? More digitalized processes that would continue to expose your organization potentially to legal risk, right? How do you see like legal issues evolving in 2025? Do you think there's going to be more of that?
Oh, heck yeah. There's
Different
money.
cases, right?
Yeah, there's money to be made by somebody in a lawsuit. So I think that the structures that exist that allow us to be able to keep track of all of our data, those are the pieces that are going to be vital. Right now we use Newforma to keep track of everything involved, every file involved in a project. From, if it's a file that we create, if it's a file that we collect from somebody else, it all goes in, right? It is all. That's where the relationship part, it speaks so clearly to me, is if we don't keep track of everything, if we don't file all of our emails, we're opening ourselves up to risk. We're absolutely opening ourselves up to risk.
Yeah.
I tell folks, when it comes to something as simple as filing an email, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. I didn't make that up, but it's
Good
so
point.
true. It is
So
so
true.
true,
Yeah.
right? And how big is an email? File it. If you think that it could be important, file it. That's the whole point. We need to keep our stuff, all of our data. We need to keep it in a platform that helps us to understand the relationships between all of this different disparate pieces of data. And we need to be able to access this information when we need it and where we need it.
So the
We're
project context is very important, right?
Oh my goodness. I'm so excited about what's coming in 2025, as far as the immediacy of access to our data. That part is, I'm so excited about that. there are products that are coming that are going to allow us to, if I have a phone, if I have a tablet, or if I have a laptop, and if I can see the internet, I can see my project data. That right there is huge. If you're sitting on an airplane, if you're a passenger in a car, if you're on the job site, you will have access to your information. That's I feel that's one of the key things that is going to be happening in 2025. We're going to be able to access our content wherever and whenever, provided that we have access to the internet. That right
Yeah.
there, I think, that's the, I mean, there's always got to be a catch, but as long as my device can see the internet, I can see all of my project data. That to me that's key.
Yep. So do you see, like, I guess, like, if I ask the question to you 5 years ago, how many tools are part of your project tech stack, you would probably have given me a different answer than the answer you would give me today, right?
Absolutely.
So I guess, speaking to those, technology is growing on a project basis, right? Like, what do you see the role of technologies that can help with aggregation, right? Aggregating data from multiple systems, like the technologies that are kind of like software agnostic in a way, that help you connect these pieces of information silos together. What do you think the role of those platforms will look like to solve the challenges of 2025?
Oh, they're going to be even more vital. The things that help create the relationships are going to be even more vital, I think.
Yeah, and
We
that's
have,
not
and
just like, yeah, go ahead.
like on our intranet, our intranet right now pulls information from Newforma, from Deltek Vantage Point, from Open Asset. I feel like I'm missing something. It pulls data. So, and that's our intranet. That's not something that's public facing. That's not something that any of our clients will ever see. There's no contractor that's going to be looking at our intranet, right? So that is something that we use internally to keep track of data that comes from different areas. I can access Vantage Point data right from my intranet. I can grab Newforma content right from my intranet. I can go to Open Asset and see images of my projects right from my intranet. So there's going to need to be a hub of some sort that
Yeah,
helps us to understand. We've got this one thing that we can go to. The person that puts all that together and creates the relationships that helps people understand the data better. When I first started this job at NAC, one of my coworkers told me that in this role, what we do is we help artists and creative people with technical problems. And that has rung true every day that I go to work. I help artists and creative people with technical problems. I think this is also that's going to apply to where those artists and creative people's data resides, and how I'm going to have to help them understand the different systems that are going to come together. That's where I can speak IT and I can speak architecture. And I'm trying to help people understand how it all fits together. And the more data that we throw out there and the more disparate systems that we have, it's getting more complicated. But I'm so excited for what's coming. So those platforms that help us to create and maintain the relationships with all of our data, those are the pieces that they're going to be vital. They have to.
yeah,
We have to have that. Otherwise, what do you have? You have a pile of stuff in a bunch of folders on your network.
yep.
What do you do? What do you do with it?
Yeah. So what do you see is going to be different? Like, if you project yourself in November of 2025, what's different from today?
Well, I think one of the things that's going to be different is that one of the software pieces that we use is going to be new to NAC. It's not a new product entirely, but Newforma Connect is going to be something that I see us transitioning more and more to in the year 2025. The reason that I've been speaking about how the immediacy, the immediate access to your data anywhere you are, I think is going to be really, Connect is going to be key. Newforma Connect is going to be the key piece that's going to allow us to access our project data wherever we're at on whatever internet connected device that we can see the internet with. So I really feel that that's going to be a game changer for us. We're going to be having access to all of our project data through a device, through an application that is going to have a desktop component, mobile component. So that will get all of my people access to all of their content whenever and wherever they need it. That's the thing that I think. So come this time next year, it's my goal to have a bunch of our users. I don't have a solid number on that yet. I want to have a lot of our users setting up and using projects in Connect. That to me is going to be that's where I see me in 2025 and next year. So give me a year, and I'm seeing a lot of Connect adoption at NAC.
Well, you got me excited.
I figured you'd like that.
Yeah, let me know how I can help.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I got you on speed dial, Carl. Yep.
Yeah. So we've talked about AI, we've talked about legal issues, we've talked about data silos, data sprawl. We've talked about knowledge management too, right? So what's your 3 top prediction for 2025, right? If you turn into a Nostradamus kind of prediction, right? What's your take on it?
Oh my goodness. My top 3 predictions for this coming year. My first prediction is that AI is going to be everywhere. I really feel that it's going to be a part of everything that we do. It's going to be, most of us have it on our cell phones. Most of us have it on our desktop, access to it on our desktops in some form or another. I think AI is going to be everywhere. That's my, as if it isn't already, it's going to be more. I really think. My second prediction is that we're going to have more data. Really big, right? That's really going out on a limb. But I don't think that the rate at which we are acquiring and creating data is going to stop. I really don't. So I think that the trajectory of the data that we either create or collect throughout the course of our projects, that's just going to absolutely skyrocket. And my third prediction is that I'm going to predict that there are going to be some technologies available by the end of next year that we have no idea about. Think about the last 2 years in AI. And we didn't even know that this was going to be possible 2 years ago. Think about what's going to happen in the next year. So my last prediction is that we are going to be using tools that either didn't have a name or did not exist at this point in time right now. Those are my predictions. What about you, Carl? What are you excited about? What do you think is coming? I need to know from you.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I think I'm gonna take 3 different angles. Right, one is gonna be like a market dynamic kind of thing. The other is gonna be, I think, a growing challenge, and the third one is gonna be a technology play. So let's start with just like the market dynamic, right? So what I've seen, and I think it's been exponential, so it's just gonna keep going in 2025. But I guess with the capital investment that's been going on in construction is going to fuel productivity loss. So that's kind of backward thinking a little bit, right? Because you would think that you're investing, there's more capital investment in construction, there's technology booming, technologies will make you more efficient. But actually, what we've seen is all the opposite, right? So you've got, because of the explosion in technology that's happening, then there is more disconnected workflows and interoperability issues. So we will see that the project tech stack is going to keep increasing from possibly an average 10 tools to 15 tools and tools don't talk to one another, and then that's fueling efficiency on the project. So there will be some really great technology coming out of it, and I think it's great for the industry to have more choices on the vendors they want to work with. Good competition is always good for the industry, but at the same time, I think this is going to keep fueling productivity loss in our space. The next prediction, I think, is related to communications, right? And we all know that good communications make good projects. So I think the methods and the tools used for communications will continue to increase and create additional risk for industry professionals. So you think, beyond text messages, phone calls, in BIM, people use BCF files for communications now, emails. Well, beyond those things, the adoption of Microsoft Teams since COVID has increased, right? So this will continue to explode, and the new generations will continue to leverage that tool to make decisions. And there is no project record and no record of any decisions made in that tool as of today, right? So I think that technologies like Newforma, which will continue to record information in those various communication channels, will help mitigate risk. But I think this is going to be a growing trend and something that's going to be fueling legal issues and lawsuits as we walk in 2025. And the last one is a technology play. And then we've talked quickly about BIM, and how BIM is good at capturing and generating lots of information that is often locked in file formats. So I think there's going to be an increased interest in freeing that information from BIM file-based workflows. Think about information management in a broader sense, right? So I think any technologies that help extract this information and make it accessible quickly is going to be booming in 2025.
I love that. I just wrote it down. Free the data. You've mentioned that a few times as before. I like that. I really do. I think that that's something that represents what we're going to need to do. We're going to need to free the data so that we can access it whenever and wherever.
Yeah.
And I think, free the data.
About creating relationship, making sure that the project is captured, right? Anything that helps capture information, create the relationship, and then how do you expose the data, right? How do you consume it? How do you free it somehow, right? So
I can see the T-shirt now. Free the data.
Freedom.
There we go. I love it.
Great. Well, that was a fun talk, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely,
so
Carl.
thank you very much for taking the time, and I'm sure we'll have time in the coming weeks to continue the conversation around events, right?
Absolutely, and thanks for having me, Carl. This was a lot of fun, and I kind of am looking forward to this time next year. Were we right? Or were we way off base? That's going to be fun to see too. So now that we have this recorded for posterity, we're going to be able to hold ourselves accountable, or make fun of each other for acting, or make fun of each other for predicting wrong. I don't know which one's going to happen, but it's going to be awesome. So thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason.
Absolutely, Carl.